Hello, 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 people. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? How you doing? I've joined. Thank you very much, Temilolu. Thank you for joining. Yemi Odejimi, thank you. Puakori, Optimum Investment Backup, thank you very much. Yom Sumi, thank you guys. Thank you for joining. How we doing? I want to believe that you guys are having a great time. Thank you. Please call your friends, call your family members, and get them to join the stream. Okay, Bernard, how are you? Similoluwa, good to see you. Karakata, how is the market? Okay, Textile Hobei, thank you, Luminas. Thank you, everyone. Yemi Odejimi, everyone, thank you for joining. I want to appreciate you guys for joining today. Okay, so today I'm just going to quickly touch on something that is very critical, because a lot of the times I get calls from parents who are stifling the potential of their child, and they're really, really worried about what they need to do. Now, truth is, none of us actually set out mastering parenting. Many of us have had to do studies, to be able to teach people effectively how to master their parenting. And one of the things that I specialize on is helping parents enjoy a stressless parenting journey, because many of us live in fear. And I understand your sentiment and your fear. Nobody wants their children to turn out badly. I was in the UK, I think in June, and I was making a presentation to the Manchester officials to help them understand what a child means to an African, and making a position on the need for them not to just withdraw our children, because they didn't quite understand that, unlike over there where you just give birth to a child and a child is just one of those things, that's to ours. When you don't have a child as an African woman, it's almost as if you are naked. As a man, when you don't have a child, it's almost as if you have nobody, right? And so I was making that case, and I was explaining to them that sometimes when it seems that we are hard and harsh on our children, it's not because we hate them, because we want to kill them. It's simply because we cannot bear the shame that may come when things go south, right? And for the first time, they weren't able to understand and get it, right? And so I am going to be sharing a couple of tips that I think can help you. And so today, if you have read my book, Out of the Box Parenting, many years ago, I created the Parenting Quadrant that is now being used in various countries right now. And one of the things that I focused on, which as an African parent or non-African parent, you need to focus on, is the concept of the seed owner, right? Everybody, especially for those of us from Africa, we agree that God is a giver of life, as it were. And so if God is the giver of life, it means God is the giver of children. Even though a child is a product of biological relationship between a man and a woman, right? But then we know that there's a higher purpose. As a matter of fact, the concept that is believed is that when humanity starts to complain about a problem, God's response to that complaint is to literally plant a seed in the family. Now, the biggest issue for the seed manifesting and becoming the best version of himself or herself are the seed handlers, which are the parents. But today I've not come to talk about the parents, I've come to talk about a major issue that is very serious. Now, in 24 years of practice, when I sit with parents and I'm asking them, what kind of child they want, almost everyone is unanimous. It's almost as if they're in a class where they taught them, to respond the way they all respond. Everybody wanted a godly child. So if I ask all of you on this call right now, how many of you want a godly child? I'm sure hands will go up. Yeah, almost everybody wants a godly child. The only problem is that when I ask them to define who a godly child is, that's where problem starts, right? Because if I'm asking you, who is a godly child? Can you define a godly child for me? And then you will begin to hear things like, if it's a godly child, what are the attributes of a godly child? The number one attribute is it must be obedient. Two, it must be respectful. And I laugh because I know exactly where that thought process is coming from. Oftentimes, many of our conclusions are built are framed from sources we did not consciously create. Right. So how many of you know the song, Make Me a Child Like Samuel? He was obedient and so respectful. He never argued with his parents. Now, that song is Yahoo, so is a fraud. Because where did Samuel live with his parents that he didn't argue with his parents? He didn't live with his parents, he lived with Eli. But you see, we have inserted the fact that a child must be respectful and must be obedient. Nothing wrong with that. Fantastic attribute. The only challenge is that what exactly is the intention? We consider it disrespectful for a child to argue with you. Now, argument is considered disrespectful for many of us. But what is disrespectful in argument when argument is simply, I see things differently from the way you see them? Now, that's by no means saying that children should continue to argue with their parents. That's not even where I'm going. So I ask, given the attributes of a godly child, obedient, respectful, loving, holy, righteous, so holy, righteous, integrity. So we regurgitate a lot of concepts that we have been told without even studying those concepts or understanding them. So I take them back because I knew exactly what they were going to say. So I take them back to say, okay, can we define a godly child with the simplest definition? And then they respond to me by saying that a godly child is a child who is like God. Now, if a child is like a parent and the paternity is in doubt, what do we order for? DNA. What does DNA shows? The genes, isn't it? Now, so can we backtrack? If it's a godly child, is a child that looks like God, do the parents even know what God looks like? So let's get back to God. Who is God? What are the attributes of God? Because if we know the attributes of God, then we know what to expect from a godly child. And this is where it gets interesting. Because, the law of the lead in John C. Maxwell's leadership school, the first law of leadership says that a leader people cannot rise beyond the lead of a leader. And so I'm waiting for them. And then you know what they begin to say? Oh, God's attributes is omnipresent, which means it's present everywhere. God is omniscient, right? He knows all things. God is sovereign, right? God is loving. God is the creator of heaven and earth, right? So he's a creator. Now let's stick with those five: omnipresent, omnipotent, sovereign, loving, creator, right? Five. So I write that separately and I'm asking, why is what you have called the attributes of God different from the attributes of a godly child? When you have concluded or defined a godly child as a child that looks like God, then they start looking at me, right? Because even though they draw near to God with their mouth, their heart cannot conceive that their child actually looks like. So it's like people say, I want a godly child, I want a godly child, but they don't even know who a godly child is. Neither do they believe that a child can actually become like God. And so they look at me, they say, are you saying that a child can be present everywhere? That's not what I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. So I go further to ask them if they know of any child who has created anything that is present all over the world. Then they look at me. Then they mention Coca-Cola. Then they mention um, internet. Then they mention Facebook. Then they mention Tesla. Then they say, oh, okay. So, because if you have a product that has gone all over the world, it means you have everywhere your product is, that's your present, because that's your imprint, right? And then they said, okay, let's take creator. How come you didn't put that as an attribute? So what we do oftentimes is when we say we want a godly child, we want character traits, not competence traits, because the competence trait is going to stretch you. And so if you do not believe that your child is capable of innovating a solution that is used all over the world, it will show in your decision making, it will show in the environment you're creating, it would reflect in everything you're doing. How you correct that child, how you raise that child, the kind of school you put that child, the conversations you're having with that child, your capacity to help the child become the best version of himself is going to show, right? And so, in fact, it would show in what you are studying, the personalities you're introducing your child to, right? So it becomes very important For us to understand that the demon that we think is affecting our child could be the person you see in the mirror when you look into the mirror. And so, if you want to raise a godly child, and all you're thinking is let him become an usher, let him become holy police, let him become holy police is like security or protocol. If you're not a Nigerian, right? Or let him become a drummer, let him become a cell leader. Those things are good, but hey, a godly child is more than that. So, but your heart must be able to accommodate, because your child is like the shark, you are the aquarium, right? If you keep the shark in the aquarium, it will not outgrow the size of the aquarium. Many of us are beating the global innovation of our children out of them. We are conditioning it out of them because of our ignorance. You are not wicked. You are doing the best you can with what is available to you. You want the best for your child, but you don't know how. So at the end of the day, a lot of us are damaging the child. You want to raise a godly child, but you don't even know God. The God you know, it's the killer, not the father. The God you know is the one that is a bully. You don't know the God of creation. You don't know the God of innovation. You don't know the God that can innovate something, help your child innovate something that will take your child all over the globe. You don't know that God. So if you don't know that God, what do you introduce to your children? And that's why we need to be careful what is being taught to our children, even in churches, because everything that was taught to you is what has produced this version of you. And if you look at many people in our generation, we can't question. We are afraid. We are fearful. We are still, even in our, some of us are in our 40s, 50s, we are still afraid of demons. We are still afraid. The fundamentals, ethos of what it means to be godly is lost on us. All we think about is, oh, I will not fornicate. I will not commit immorality. I will not. Those things are good. But what of the competence side of God? Oh Lord, my God, how excellent is your name in all the earth, global dominance. Are you preparing your child to get a job? I mean, we started, doing some prayers for African parents and Latinos in the diaspora. And that's what I began to say to them, to say, hey, the way we're living a life, we're just going to raise children, send them to expensive schools to come and look for jobs, to pay bills, and then replicate the process. That there must be more to our parenting, that you can literally open up the vista of your child and make them fearless and limitless to know that they can actually take on their world and win. But it starts with how you see the world, how you see the God that you claim you serve. So if you see God through the prism of, I say it humorously, Amadioa, right? And Amadioa is like God in Nigeria, right? If that's how you see God, that is to be feared, he will kill you. That's what you're going to pass to your child. So every little thing you tell your child, if you do this thing, God can kill you. There was one man, God killed. How does that help the innovation of a child? How does that help that child's capacity to stand shoulder to shoulder with everyone in any part of the world and become the best version of themselves? So you might be the one stifling the potential of your child simply because you do not understand what it means to raise a godly child. So I have come to challenge you as a parent tonight that it's good to look at the character traits of God in your child, but we must match that with the competence side of God, wherein your child is a creator, your child is innovative, your child can birth something that can be used all over the world. One of the things I've come to understand about God is that God is always looking for a vessel who is fearless, a vessel he can pass his innovation through. But can we prepare him that vessel? Can you open up the mind of your child? So if your child wants to be a scientist, right? Are you not afraid of that? Are you not conditioning him out of that? Are you not showing him that, oh, the way to serve God is to play drums, is to be in choir, is to be an usher? Is that not what you are saying? You are not telling your child you can serve God by finding a cure to cancer. You can serve God by innovating a solution that can help all African countries or all over the world. The conversation we have many of us are fearful because they introduce all kinds of fearful elements into our lives. The movies our parents made us watch, they made some of us watch Burning Hell when we're younger, and we still have PTSD from watching those things. We could have been made to watch things that make the world open to us. to say God owns this world and God is our Father and we have to be like him. Now, to be like him, you have to question your world, to be like him, and we must normalize those questioning. A generation that cannot question cannot innovate. Because for you to innovate, you have to question the status quo. So if we cannot question the status quo, how do we innovate? If we can normalize conversation where your child has objection, because your child sees things differently from the way you see them, that's why you get into a clash. Are we humble enough to even say, okay, can we get curious? What is my child trying to say? And then collaborate with them to bring out the best in them. God has a pathway for your child. Do you know that pathway? There are people in the Bible who wanted something that was different from what God wanted. Sarah was crying for a child, but God wanted to birth a new nation, right? Zechariah was crying for a child. God wanted a forerunner. Anna was crying for a child. God wanted a prophet. So what you want and what God needs must align for you to get the best out of your child. I am begging you, because see, the devil is not going to come through somebody in the village, say they are stealing the glory of my child. The glory being stolen is due to our ignorance and our mismanagement. Because if there is no way that you can grow cocoa seed, on American soil, it's not possible. There are seeds that will not grow on certain lands. So if you don't create the environment suitable for the seed of your child, I see African children in Canada, some of them are now ice hockey champions. If their parents did not leave Canada, how would they know that they can even play ice hockey? Because there's no ice hockey in Africa, as it were. So environment is critical. Now I'll take time to talk about the environment, but still it starts with our parental mindset. So many of us need to heal. Many of us need to become wholesome once again. Many of us need to become transformed. You need to renew your mind, right? And so it's important for us to get it right now, to know that the greatest endowment that you could have been given is the gift of being a parent. A life is literally in your hand in the first 7 years of that child's life, that God is saying, do whatever you want to do. Now the child is 18. What have you done with that? That you could make that child into a genius when he doesn't have capacity. But what did you stuff his brain with? The same things you were told that has produced this you. It is the same thing you repeated, and then you open your brain, the brain of your child, to the same teachers, to the same educational system, to the same kind of people who damaged your curiosity, that you now have grown into an adult who everything they're telling you, you are consuming, you cannot question. Even when you feel it's wrong, you cannot question because you are afraid of the repercussion. A fearful generation cannot lead the world. If we have to lead the world as Africans, we have to raise children who are fearless. And they've got to look like God. What is God afraid of? Then what should your child be afraid of? And we need to shield our children to ensure that information that does not promote the best interest of your child does not escape. You don't tolerate it. What you also study, where you take your child to. See, if you understand the potential of your child, it can lead you to change environment, to change location, to change church, to change stuff, because that solution is too precious. Every child is a potential savior, and we need to understand that, right? Some other day I will talk about the environment and the child and then the you, because many of us are traumatized and we need to heal. But what I've come to say today is that our definition of who a godly person is must move beyond, he must not lie, he must not steal, he must not fornicate. Those ones are necessary, they're character traits, but competence traits is where we are failing off. So we have a lot of Christians who don't do any of those things, but they are incompetent. How can they be godly when they are incompetent? Can incompetence and God be put in the same sentence? Who should lead in your child's school? Who should challenge the status quo? Who should lead others? Who should show them the way, if not your child? So I want to say thank you very much for joining. I'll come some other day. If you have any questions, slide into my DM. But by the way, if you live outside of Africa and you haven't gotten my family life combo, please subscribe for it right now. A lot of people, we've made deliveries to Canada, Germany, Australia, UK, America. Several packages have gone out of America. 2 books will be shipped to you. 2 best-selling books, one on parenting, one on how to set up your family system, and 3 workout class courses will also be given to you. I mean, this is easily an $850 solution, but we've made it affordable at $150, right? So it says still. So you can look at the link and then place your order right away. You get your books in maximum of 3 days at your doorstep, anywhere in the world. It will be sent to you, and then 3 courses, and then you can master a framework that helps you get the best out of your child. Thank you very much for joining me. I love you all. Also, tutoring parents need to renew their mind. I agree absolutely with you. We need to build competent traits in our children. Yeah, that's where we need to go, so that we don't raise children who are speaking in tongues, but they are not useful to their world when it comes to innovation and leading the world. Thank you very much, everyone. I love you. Have a fantastic day. I mean, this video is available on YouTube. So if you don't follow me on YouTube, go subscribe, Praise Forward Live, all right? Follow me. It will be available there. You can listen to it over and over again. I'll see you some other day. I love you all. Bye-bye. Have a fantastic evening.